Hello again and back again with Seven Rivers Talk with Bob Burrell, and of course I'm Bob Burrell, and very happy to have all of you with us again as usual. We're in the third segment right now of a program that is absolutely shocking, if not completely revealing, in terms of, I guess what you would call an incursion and an infestation of our churches by a group called AMOS here in Wisconsin, most specifically here in the city of La Crosse. Now, we've talked with Joelene Churchill, who has been working overtime and trying to bring all of you throughout the state of Wisconsin the story of Amos and of Job and of Joshua, these different groups that have been named, affiliated with Gamaliel, and their mission and objective is to penetrate churches and one way or another to hold hostage, if you will, activities, call them their own, and then probably get funds for their other programs such as human development, which includes supporting abortion, of course, and other very bad anti-religious programs. But the good news today is not only do we have Dr. Us with us from the city of La Crosse and Joelene Churchill, but on this segment we have a new person, David Drews. David, thank you for joining us here on this segment.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
David is very involved in responsible citizens for responsible government, and we're talking mainly here about the state of Wisconsin. And but what can Christians do to protect their churches, and how does that relate to responsible citizens for responsible government, David?
Well, first, the primary thing is in any organization that you belong to, don't just be a member of the organization, but be involved with the inner workings of it, the committees and so forth that make decisions. And the churches that we're primarily concerned with today is that somewhere in some committee or the pastor or certain influential laymen think this is a good idea, but it is not. It is a very bad idea, and our purpose in Citizens for Responsible Government is to alert people as to what AMOS really is.
And I think you're doing a really good job of that. And of course, as we've said before, you're working with Dr. Us, Mike Us, here from the city of La Crosse, who is also very involved in Christians United for Truth. CUT, that program is called, David, or Michael.
Right. Yeah. We first started when we found out AMOS was in the area. And a bunch of us, it's a very loose-knit group. We don't have dues or anything. And trying to find out what AMOS was about. And when we did find out, and its connection with Wisdom, Gamaliel, and closely associated with ACORN, we decided we better study this and try to get this information out to the parishes before they got involved too deeply in this mess.
How long have you been involved in this now, Dr. Us?
We started in November.
All right.
So it's only been recently, and we had Joelene come up and gave us a program that was in January, which was very well attended.
Joelene is very responsible for what I would call accelerated learning here in a new subject that it continues to grow, and it continues to send out its tendrils, as you describe it, Joelene. You've got some church protection booklets, that is, that we maybe referred to earlier, but just a moment, can you talk about that at all?
Sure, I'd be glad to. One thing that we need to do across the state of Wisconsin is to counter these groups, is to pray very hard that our churches can see through the veil of the national community organizing movement. Then we need to get very, very informed about Saul Alinsky and his tactics. We have been traveling the state giving our workshops, and we have a little booklet that we pass out at all of our workshops telling folks what they can do, what their options are. But one very important thing is that folks write to their pastors and speak to their pastors, expressing their concerns, educate other people in the pews. Ultimately, for churches that are involved in the community organizing network, it may be something for them to consider to boycott the collection plate to avoid having their dollars go down to Chicago to fund the main parent groups of the local chapters.
Now you've got, as far as your booklets are concerned, you also have an email address called acornfreechurches@yahoo.com. Is that correct?
That is correct. If folks would like to get a copy of our booklet, we also have some postcards that we have available for folks to do like a letter writing campaign. We'd be glad to help you rescue your church from the national community organizing movement.
That's acornfreechurches@yahoo.com. David, you've spoken to the county board, for example, about this activity. How was your reception there?
Well, that was very interesting because the group had not really heard about AMOS. However, it was an open meeting for citizen input with regard to the budget. And the speaker before me had mentioned they had just met with AMOS that afternoon. So I corrected my presentation that I had prepared, and I said, this is maybe the first some of you have heard about AMOS, and I would suggest you don't walk away from it, you run away from it. And most of them gave me some blank stares back. Obviously, they had no idea what I was talking about.
No, it's still, I think it's still relatively kind of a new phenomenon with all of these churches. And of course, the idea is don't bite before you investigate the sandwich that you're being handed here. One of the charges, or one of the pitfalls here, I should say, is that if a church associates with AMOS, for example, which in turn supports certain public programs and or other programs, which is that means that the church is supporting a public entity or a political entity, which there goes your tax exemption, because the church can't do that. So they really do run a real risk of one of their major assets, which is tax exemption for their fundraising.
Well, that's for sure, and it seems as though, of course, that certain politicians get by with anything. Even Pulaski, our House leader in the federal, encouraged Catholic priests to speak from the pulpit about allowing these illegal immigrants to come in. It's just incredible what's going on.
David, thank you so much for being our guest on this third segment, and thank you very much, Mike Us, for being with us on this show, this first-time show today. We have a couple more coming up. Joelene, Churchill, thank you very much for coming all the way from Milwaukee to help us along here. Tomorrow morning, we'll air part 2 of this discussion, and we'll focus on the bigger picture for the state. And don't forget, next week we'll have, as our special guests, gubernatorial candidates, I should say, Dave Ross, who is a Republican, and Spencer Clogs, Democrat. They are running for lieutenant governor here in the state of Wisconsin. We'll see you then. I'm Bob Earl. Have a good day.